Welcome students, let's continue with the experiment part 3 explanation, the abiotic stressors of drought stress and heavy metals. So drought stress, let's start with drought stress. Drought stress means there is decrease in the soil moisture and hence reduced availability of water to the plant. So this the drought is going to reduce the water potential and also the turgor of the plant leaves, so that's why the normal functions are going to get disturbed. So they are going to lead to the problems such as stomatal closure, rather stomatal opening is very difficult. So because of that, gas exchange is going to change, reduce in the water content of the plant, etc, and hence resulting in the wilting of the plant. So imagine if you have been out, you have a plant at home and you have been out from the home for 2 to 3 days and there is no one to water the plant. So when you come back home after 2 3 days, you will see that the leaves of the plant have started to wilt. They are not as fresh as you had left them. So the same way wilting will occur during the drought conditions. So why this happens is, why wilting etc happens, it is because the plant wants to reduce the stress of drought, so it reduces its surface area by rolling of the leaf, stopping the stomatal opening, and accumulation of osmoprotecting agents which are not allowing water to release out of the cells. So these are the some mechanisms that the plant can deploy. So apart other abiotic stresses apart from drought have detrimental effects. Definitely they would be having, but definitely they would be having detrimental effects. But the if the problem with drought is, drought conditions directly they change the physiological functions of the cells. They change how the cell is going to metabolize. Catabolism, anabolism is going to change within the cell because of the drought conditions. uh, then the as compared to the other conditions like high temperature and disturbed iron intake and deficiencies etc. Firstly, initially when there is a decreased availability of plant water, what plant does is tries to absorb most of the water from the soil. So because of that, and it also closes its stomata. So when stomata is closed, water loss would be reduced. It changes its root to shoot ratio. So obviously when it has to reach further away to reach to more and more areas, so the root ratio is going to increase as compared to the shoot ratio. Then it is going to thicken the cuticle and increase the water content in the soil. What is cuticle? It is the barrier between, it is a hydrophobic barrier. So this barrier cuticle is not going to allow water to travel from inner within the cell to the outer areas, hence reducing the water loss. Then when there is still more decrease in the water availability, it tries to prevent it tries to prevent the water loss by with the help of osmotic strategies. What is osmotic strategies? So what osmotic strategies are, the uh, so the plant is going to build up a lot of ions and molecules which are going to solutes which are going to keep water binded to themselves. They are not allowing the water to release out. So when there is high osmotic pressure within the cell, the water will not be allowed to go outside of the cell, hence reducing the water loss. Then it produces proteins which are going to protect it from damages and limiting the damages. So it produces during this production of high proteins. So if you are the rate of reactions etc are increased, they are going to cause production of reactive oxygen species. So that is going to cause stress to the plant late in the end. And whenever there is sufficient water available to the plant, if you have watered, you came back home after 2 to 3 days and water your plants back, they are going to get rehydrated, they are going to come back there to their original stage. Same way here the plants are going to get rehydrated when enough of the water is available to the plant. So all these studies of studying regarding the how plant is going to survive the drought conditions etc are being studied. How dehydration mechanisms are employed, they are being studied in a large scale in laboratories by scientists, so to improve the quality yield of the plants, which can give us high amount of drought tolerance. Then we come to the next stressor, that is heavy metal. Heavy metal are uh, metals which are going to be affecting the some of them are necessary to the plant, some of them are not. In the same way, human body is also in our human body, some metals such as iron would be very important for us, and the metals such as mercury, arsenic are going to be harmful for us. The same way, exact same way, heavy metals are going to affect the plants also. So because of the modern world, the amount of industrialization has brought about a lot of pollution uh, of soil and the water. So obviously when water is polluted, it is the soil around the water is also going to get polluted. So because of the industrialization etc, there is a lot of accumulation of heavy metals in soils nowadays. So what is it going to lead? It is going to lead to damage the soil texture, its pH. So pH of the soil is very important to grow the to so the same like our blood has to be in a particular pH to be in optimal conditions to work. Same way the soil pH has to be in optimal pH conditions so that the plant is able to grow. Then presence of different elements and accumulation of heavy elements etc is going to adversely affect the physiological and molecular activities of the plant. So the same way I told you that iron such as Fe is going to be good for us in certain quantities, and iron like the iron like or like metal like mercury is going to be harmful. Same way in plants I told you the metals like Zn, that is zinc, copper, molybdenum, manganese, cobalt, nickel etc would be required for certain biological reactions by certain enzymes. But other heavy metal which are the toxic ones, they are arsenic, lead, cadmium, mercury, chromium, aluminium, beryllium etc. These are the toxic ones, while the above ones are the non toxic and required to the cells for some uh, amounts only. So let's see what happens when the heavy toxic metal go up above the optimal range. They are going to yield they are going to lead morphological abnormalities and metabolic disorders to the plant. they are going to increase the reactive oxygen species, that is superoxide, anion radical, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxide radical, etc. is going to increase and result in disruption of the redox homeostasis of the cell. When redox homeostasis changes, so one of the major cause when redox homeostasis is imbalanced is when the plant is suffering from heavy metal toxicity. And there are n number of reports, n number of studies carried out which tell us that when the food has accumulation of heavy metals in it, it it is finally going to give detrimental effects to the human health. Obviously, when the heavy toxic metals are like, uh, the toxic metal would be accumulating in the food that we are going to consume, and once we consume it, they are going to go in our bodies, and once they go in our bodies, they are also going to affect how uh, our enzymes are going to function. They will go and bind to the enzymes in our body and later on cause toxicity in our body also. So to withstand the heavy metals toxicity and stress, plants come up with mechanisms such as reduce uptake of the heavy metal, or accumulate the heavy metal into vacuoles. Vacuoles are the organelles where waste product is going to get stored. So in these vacuoles, or certain chemicals certain compounds are going to come and bind to the heavy metal and keep them away from the important enzymes and proteins. So these compounds are known as phytochelators or phytochelatins or metallothioneins. So these type of compounds are going to come and bind it, or also activation of the various antioxidants. So as I had told you earlier, reactive oxygen species are going to get generated. To cope up with these reactive oxygen species, there is there is antioxidant production. So we are going to study, uh, there would be n number of other metals, heavy metal, toxic heavy metals, but we are going to study here problem effect of arsenic, lead, cadmium and mercury. So let us study them one by one. Arsenic is a health hazard for n number of peoples in across the globe. Arsenic is found mainly when there is volcanic eruptions, erosions of the rock, and when in human activities. Arsenic is generally used a lot in uh, products such as pesticides or wood preservatives. The wood When wood is coated with some chemicals, it contains it contains arsenic. Then also the activities such as mining, that is extraction of certain element. So if you are extracting iron from the mines, but still there would be content of arsenic, and that arsenic, while extracting iron, you would come across the arsenic, and since you will not need arsenic, you will just throw it away without thinking about the environmental impact that it is going to cause, and hence polluting the water and the soil around that area. So this is how uh, contamination of arsenic can occur. So when groundwater is getting contaminated with arsenic, the groundwater is the one which is going to get uh, used for irrigation, drinking, etc. So this is going to affect the crop productivity and also the human health. And if we are consuming it, it is going to affect the human health. If we are feeding it to the animals, then also it is going to accumulate in the body of those animal and cause harmful effect to them, and if we are going to consume that animals, then in the end it is going to affect us. So whichever way the uh, the problem the people who are going to get affected, the group that is going to get affected is us human itself, because of our activities, or because of the carelessness that we have, uh, that the carelessness that around for the environment, that we the carelessness attitude for the environment, that is going to affect us only. So problem so to cope up with these problems of arsenic toxicity, plants come up with plants come up with mechanisms such as accumulation or detoxification or tolerance towards the arsenic. So these plants are rice, lettuce, spinach, carrot, etc., which are being studied nowadays. So how is arsenic toxicity occurring? Arsenic toxicity is occurring in two forms of arsenic, that is arsenate and arsenite. Both of them are readily available in the environment, and they both are toxic to the plant also. They both are uh, declared as environmental pollutants by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, that is USEPA. And among both of them, in arsenate and arsenite, arsenite is more toxic than arsenate, because arsenite is going to interrupt the biological functions, such as biological functions, because it binds to sulfhydryl groups, then because of that it is finally going to interfere in the functions of the plant, the enzymes, resulting in production of reactive oxygen species, inhibition of the respiration, and uh, why is inhibition of respiration occurring? Because it is going to bind to the vicinal thiols, that is the sulfhydryl groups around in the enzymes, and the special enzyme which it binds is the pyruvate dehydrogenase, then 2-oxoglutarate dehydrogenase. So these both are one of crucial enzymes in Krebs cycles, and also breakdown of the glucose, etc. So they would be causing damage, and they can also indirectly act as mutagen during the intrachromosomal homologous recombination. While arsenate, that is uh, arsenate is going to interfere with during the oxidative phosphorylation, ATP synthesis during energy metabolism, so finally leading to harm to the plant. Then the next method is lead. Lead is most widely available around the world, so it is going to affect the soil and the flora fauna within the soil. And so lead is seen a lot in dust. Then in the olden days, people used to have pipes which were coated with lead. So old lead plumbing pipes, or in the industrial sites, if there are farms around the industrial sites, then they are going to they are going to harm the plants because of the high lead content. So lead is present in the form of 2 plus Pb2 plus, which is non biodegradable, and it is accumulated in the cells for a long duration of time. So it is going to affect the biological functions, such as the pH of the uh, it is going to affect the soil. So pH of the soil, carbon content, amorphous ion content, aluminum oxide is going to get accumulated and change the soil properties. It is going to change the cation exchange capacity, of the soil. So when soil is being toxicated by Pb, that is lead, a high care should be taken so that the soil comes back to the normal state, that is the Pb is removed and soil comes back to the normal state. If not taken, care is not taken properly, then the soil will not soil will permanently have uh, Pb in it, and hence it would be difficult for plants to grow in that particular soil. So lead is going to inhibit processes like seed germination, seedling development, root elongation, transpiration, chlorophyll biosynthesis, and cell division of the plant cells. So it changes the permeability of the cell membrane, and changes it also reacts with metabolic enzymes such as wherever there is phosphate group, that is ADP, ATP, etc. It inhibits ATP production, induces lipid peroxidation, damages the DNA because of the production of reactive oxygen species. Then we come to the next metal, that is cadmium. Cadmium is one of the most phytotoxic metal. It is highly soluble in water, and it enters the pathways in the food chain, and hence causing once it is entered the food chain, it is going to affect the humans also. So it is classified or announced as a potent human carcinogen by this agency, that is International Agency for Research on Cancer. And it is generally found in the industrial effluents. When industrial effluents are released in the agriculturable land, that is arable land, there it is going to toxicate the soil with cadmium and hence lead to uh, pollution or heavy metal toxicity in the plant itself. So cadmium is going to inhibit Calvin cycle and metabolism of carbohydrate, phosphorus metabolism, and CO2 fixation, which is a very crucial step for plants, hence leading to stunted growth, chlorosis. Chlorosis means improper synthesis of chlorophyll. Leaf epinasty is abnormal leaves. Then alteration in the chloroplast structure, inhibition of photosynthesis. Obviously, when the chloroplast is not correct, how is it going to photosynthesize correctly, right? Then it is also going to affect the pollen germination, induce lipid peroxidation, and alter the metabolism of nitrogen, sulfur, disruption of antioxidant machinery, etc. Then we come back. Then we come to the last metal, that is mercury. Mercury has accumulated a lot in water and land uh, because of the human activities such as mining and industrial activity. Large There is a widespread occurrence of mercury contaminated food chain that is occurring because of mercury contamination. So mercury can be found in as a elemental inorganic, that is Hg2 plus, then in also in ions such as mercury sulfate, chlorine, and mercury compounds such as Cl, Hg twice, Hg2Cl2, inorganic also in the organic form, that is CH3Hg, etc. So in the agricultural lands, Hg is found generally in the form of Hg2 plus. So you can see how much different compounds of mercury can be present, and they can affect the plant in different affect the plants. So there's a lot of accumulation of Hg2 plus in plants now because of the soil is getting contaminated with mercury. So once the quantity of mercury increases in the soil becomes highly phototoxic. So the plant becomes soil when there is high accumulation of mercury in the plant becomes phytotoxic. And it's you can see the changes in the plant. It shows symptoms the way if our body has got toxicated with mercury or any other heavy metal, the same way plant is going to get affected with heavy metals. So it is going to show us symptoms. And uh, uh, it is also going to cause the physiological disorders to the plant. So mercury is going to bind to the bind to the leaves and sorry, mercury is going to stop the leaf stomata opening closing method closure process. And it is going to interfere with mitochondrial activities and induce oxidative stress by generating reactive oxygen species, leading to the disruption in the membrane of lipid biomembrane metabolism. So it is going to increase activity of the enzymes such as superoxide dismutase, peroxidase, POD, that is peroxidase, and APX, that is going to that is the indicator of that a lot of stress, the plant is going under a lot of stress. So what is the process behind experiment? How are we going to follow the protocol? So the requirements are seeds such as mung beans, etc. Mung beans or wheat grain, rice grain, etc. can be used. Then pots to grow it, soil or vermiculite. Vermiculite is also a soil like substance which on which we can grow the plants. And chemicals such as NaCl to see the effect of high salinity, cadmium chloride to see the effect of cadmium, HgCl2 to see the effect of mercury chloride, etc. So the procedure is simple. Uh, before before starting the process, we are going to sterilize the germinating seeds by using 0.1% solution of HgCl2 or NaOCl. Transfer, then after sterilizing, surface sterilization of the seeds is carried out. Then uh, each pot would be named uh, so you will be having a pot for heavy mercury toxication, cadmium toxication, and arsenic toxication, and uh, salinity toxication, drought stress. So we will have pots with different names. They will be filled with soil, or sterile soil would be required, sterile soil or sterile vermiculite. And uh, for so we will place 10 seeds per pot. And for water stress, obviously, as we had told, that water is also going to, high amount of water and low amount of water both are going to be detrimental to the plant. So for water stress, we are going to uh, fill the water to the brim of the pot. So there's a lot of flood conditions maintained in the soil. And for salt stress, heavy metal stress, we are going to seed it. And the water that we are going to give to the plant is the solutions of this compound such as saline, then cadmium uh, chloride solution or HgCl2 solutions are going to be watered to the plants. For temperature stress, one of the pot can be kept in places, very cold places such as refrigerators, etc. And one of the pot will be placed in places such as oven, so incubator or oven, where it can be kept. Then after a certain time, like a week, or by around a week or 2 weeks, we are going to measure the shoot content that is grown, and the chlorophyll content, the root length, etc., to conclude that which of the stress has been a lot, like the plant, which was the most harmful stress to the plant and which was the least harmful stress to the plant. So this brings us to the end of this experiment.